Okay, so now we're live. I'm live on Facebook, two groups, live on YouTube. Put something in the comments there. So be sure to go ahead and throw a comment in, either that you can hear me, that you can see me, that everything's working. This is the most complicated thing I've done in terms of broadcasting. Today what we're going to do is we're going to look at some beeps that are in an audiobook, and we're going to take them out gracefully using Spectral Denoise. There's other ways I could do this, but I'm just going to show you how to take it out with Spectral Denoise very quickly, and then some tips and tricks, because sometimes this is too quiet when we record it. So let's talk about a little bit about the background here. And all right, Russell, thank you. You can hear me. All right, thank you. That's so helpful to know that that's working great. Always, yeah, Danny, excellent. I appreciate it. So by the way, when I look away, I have 3 monitors, and I have to look at a bunch of different screens to make sure it's working right in all the places. And right now, it looks like it's working. All right, so so I'll talk about the groups we're in later. So here's what happens. So somebody had an audiobook, and the first thing that people say is, hey, nothing's changed. I've been doing this for 2 years, and all of a sudden now there's something in my audio. And so, of course, they got something in my mic, it's something in it. Maybe I have some wire that's going wrong. My interface is failing. Studio One is going to crap. Whatever. Their DAW isn't working. There's some noise, and that's normal. So here's what happens a lot of times. When noise that is in our environment is going to be quieter, but the mic picks it up, and then we don't hear it because it's just below our level of hearing. It's masked by other things going on. We're focused on our script. We're actually focused on our characters and telling a story. And there's something going on in the background that wasn't there before. And then when it gets mastered, everything's brought up to the level required for an audiobook. And all of a sudden, something which was just quiet enough that we didn't notice it is now all of a sudden in our face. So let me give you an example here. You can actually see it in this sample here. I'm going to go right over here. We'll take a shot at it right here. Here's one spot, and check this out. If I'm playing this audio,
said as we got back in the car. I thought it was. I'm doing everything you asked me to do.
So, hope you heard that sample there. But what should have happened was, when you got right to about here, you hear this beeping. Yeah, right there. Now, here's what will happen, though. Sometimes it's still too quiet after it's mastered. You know something's there, but you can't identify it. So one of the things that quick and dirty, I would just kind of take these things here and go, well, let me go ahead and make it louder. I could take it right here and do it as well. I can loop over it. And when I loop over it, first thing I'm going to do is run to my gain control, and I'm just going to add 20 dB of gain. Now there's 8, so I'll just bump it up 24. It doesn't really matter. But I'm going to make it loud. When I make it loud, I have it set up to loop over and over and over again. Listen to this. This is just now all of a sudden. All right, so what does that sound like to me? It sounds like maybe an air fryer. It could be somebody's, washer or dryer. It could be an air fryer. It could be a washer and dryer. It's some sort of timer going off that says, hey, I'm done with something, or it's a reminder. Who knows? Could be from a neighbor's. Could be from another room. It's so quiet, it's not heard while we're recording. But in this case, originally, of course, person is saying what we all say. I don't know. I don't think anything's changed in my environment. Now, all of a sudden, I'm getting this beep. Once you turn it up, it's obvious. It's the same for like whatever's down here, okay? This is too quiet to hear. And so let's go ahead and figure out, is this noise anything here? I'd do the same thing here. I would take the gain control. I'm going to make it, I just did it twice as much. Listen to this. Okay, obvious that that's related to some environmental thing. Could be an air conditioner. Could be that's the most likely thing, by the way, if it's in that region. Air conditioner, furnace, things like that. Now, in the real world, that's quiet enough. Nobody would hear it. But I'm just saying, you can sometimes have a sound that you can't identify, and you're trying to go, well, what is it? And because if you can identify it, then you can eliminate it. Because obviously, what I really want to do is not what we're doing today, which is take it out of an existing recording. What I really want to do is go ahead and eliminate it at the source. That's the ideal thing. Now, if I've recorded a whole, an audio book that's, say, 4 hours or something, sometimes it's not practical to go back and eliminate it at the source for this book. It's practical to eliminate it for the next book. So what's the next best thing? let's go ahead and get rid of it, and then I'll show you a couple other tips and tricks. Okay, I'll look over here, and then I'll take questions. I'll if you have a question, throw it in the chat in either YouTube or in Facebook. I'll check them all out in just a minute. But first thing we're going to do is go ahead and get rid of these. Now, what you can do, of course, I'm going to use Spectral Denoise. It's one of my favorite tools to use, and I'm going to use it to learn this. And then after it learns it, take it out of all the audio transparently. Nobody will know this was ever there. And then we'll cycle back, and I'll show you a couple other tips or tricks, because sometimes, like, these are so easy because they're sitting out in the open. But sometimes they're embedded behind, like there's one right here. There's one right here. Oh, let me try something new here. I have something that I'm working on here, and let's see if this works. Okay, so I'm going to go right over here, and let's see if I can make this work. I'm going to take this, and I'm going to go ahead and click there. And does it work? No, it didn't work. Okay, I have a way. It bothers me. I'm working on something so I can zoom in on that and make it easy. Now I can zoom in with RX, by the way. You probably know that you can change these scales over here. Bonus. That's not what this is about. But I can change this scale right here. And if I put my mouse right in the middle here, right here, and I roll my mouse, I can zoom in vertically. Of course, if I use my arrow keys, I can zoom, and then I'm zooming horizontally. So you can go over to this scale here. Put your mouse at about where you want it to be centered and roll your mouse wheel up and down. When you're done with it, double click, you're back to the original. By the way, every so often I'll double click on both these scales to zero them back out. But so if I want to zoom in, if I can't see it, if it's too small, if I were looking at it, kind of in this view, it's hard to see. So I'm going to go here, put my mouse about here, and I'll zoom in a little bit. And then you can see, here's the beep, and I can highlight that one. Add your plus key, and you can highlight this one right here. And then there's a little harmonic down here I might add. By the way, sometimes you can't get it right here, so I could go over here. And whoops, I just cleared the whole thing, so watch this. I'm going to get this little guy here, and I'm going to get this guy here, and I'm going to get this guy here. And I'm not being hyper precise. If I was working on my own and I'm not wasting your time, I can be a little more precise. But, a lot of times it does not matter, because when it's really done, no one will know. And if I really was anal, I might go and grab that guy here. Now I've just selected all these things, and I'm just going to do that. Now we'll get out, because we've selected just a tiny little portion of the spectrum. We pull up Spectral Denoise, and we're going to ask it, hey, can you listen to us and learn? And boom. Now it found these little sections, and I've done this before. So now I'm going to test it against those. And to test it means I have these selected. And here's what I guarantee will happen. There's two types of noise. Be sure to unlink them. And if you're not familiar with this kind of stuff, be sure to go over and check out, what is it? It's this one here, RX Jumpstart. RX Jumpstart has this stuff all laid out for you. So if you needed to do this stuff, there's a video on doing this. So go do that. It's under in vojumpstart.com/RX, vojumpstart .com/RX, and there's a whole course on making the most of this in a voiceover context, but not including this concept here. Now I'm going to take this, make sure they're unlinked. I'm going to take tonal, which are the horizontal lines that are going across the screen like that, and then boom, I'm going to try, and I'm going to push the tonal, and I'm not going to push the noisy much, and I'm going to render that, and you can render, and boom, and look at that. Now here's the interesting thing. Listen to this now.
I thought it was.
The beeps are gone, all right? The beeps are gone with this, and so what I'm going to do is undo, because I only selected a few of them. So there's undo. Now I'm going to, so I test, the summary. I test on some little section like that. Now, I don't want to have to go through and select, I don't know how many there are. I can see them all the way across here, and this is just a sample. She sent me a sample that's 1 minute. It's probably, I don't know how long the chapter was, but I'm going to say it's 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Who cares? It's 20 minutes, 1 minute, 2 minutes. Who wants to go through and select all that stuff across all the file and go through and do plus, 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 plus? I'm not going to do that. Don is lazy. I'm the hardest working lazy man you're going to run into. And what I want to do is minimize the time it takes to get great audio. And so now that I have these little things tested on a small section, now we can go through here, and I'm just going to take it and undo. and then I'm going to run it across everything. And here's what will happen. I could be a little more precise about it, but one of the great things is it took out now, so you can see everything's gone there across the whole file. Now I could have done hours worth of this stuff and it would have taken them all out. And I could be more precise with my selections and take out a little less in between here. No one will hear this. I can visually see it. If I promise you, if people were blindfolded, they would never know the difference. But we'll go back here and I'll zoom in, and now.
Our first stop of the day wasn't very exciting. Ross had to follow up with the victim of a break-in in the West.
So you can't hear anything about that. I'm going to undo that. And what you would have heard before was.
Our first stop of the day wasn't very exciting. Ross had to follow up with the victim of a break-in.
Right here.
With the victim of.
Some of you will not hear the one that's right here. And that's normal. It's also normal because you are listening through YouTube and there's noise reduction going on, and then things are compressed. You're not going to hear it. Some of you have the ears to hear it. I hear it all day long when I'm sitting here on good monitors in a quiet room. It's like, I can't miss this one.
Had to follow up with the victim of.
And it's right there. But most people, by the way, your audience, most audience members, most of our listeners will never hear that because hopefully they're listening to our story. They're not listening. First off, they don't expect there to be a beeping in the background or an alarm clock or an air fryer that's finished, or I don't think that's an air fryer because it goes on too long. So whatever it is in the environment, it is something that's reoccurring and changing and could go in and out. But wherever RX finds it from doing this little technique that we have right here, we can eliminate it from the whole file and no one will hear it. No one will know we took it out. And I will say there are times where I'm a little more precise about my selections. I may not have them quite as wide, quite as tall, and that way I can take out. But the one thing that's interesting is if you look at here, I'm going to run it. So then watch this section right here. I'm going to run it on the whole file. Boom. It's boom after, yeah, it's going through there. So you can see if you're looking at the room tone between the actual dialogue, you can see that there's a difference. But right here, even when I zoom in, you cannot tell that I ran anything there because RX is smart enough to go, hey, I don't need to take it out here. You'll see people do notch filters with EQ, but then it'll notch out this whole thing as well, and it would do something. It won't be that severe, and I'm zoomed in, all right? So note, also note, I was zoomed in. Let me undo that. So what I'm taking out here is during the room tone sections, nobody will miss those little fragments that are gone, and I was not hyper precise about it. So yes, you can tell if someone has a visual tool in order to go through this, they could know if you have a visual tool. I could mask that if I needed to. I could throw some room tone in there. I could mask it. You can mask it. We can use, if you have RX Advanced, you could use Ambience Match, and you could just put that all in behind there. There's a bunch of things you could do. If I was trying to be Mr. Let's make this absolutely as perfect as possible, yeah, you could do that. But here's the weird thing. You can do all that work and no one will hear the difference. But it would make another engineer happy if they were listening to it and they were looking at it with a visual tool like RX, where it's obvious that I have modified the file. But that sure beats re-recording a 10-hour book if that beep happened to be going on for 2 hours of it, 3 hours of it. And you'll notice in the actual audio itself right here, you cannot tell anything has happened. And therefore, this will sound absolutely 100% normal. Where it found something that matched that tone, it will have taken it out. Brilliant tool. Spectral Denoise is absolutely spectacular for taking out and dealing with these things. Even though it's an intermittent sound, it's wild how good that is. So let me look for questions and comments here and see if anybody asks something that I can help with. Hey, Deborah, thanks. Plus on Mac. It's still Shift on Mac. I don't think it's Plus. It's definitely Shift. When you want to go through and add all these things, it's definitely hold down. So I select something. Then if you hold down the Shift key, you can select and add to an existing selection. And there is a, I can't remember what it is. There's a minus as well. Hold on. I think it's minus. If I do this, I think it's Option or Alt. Yep, that's it. See, I could take out some too. So if you take too much, hold down Alt or Option on the Mac. So Shift on Mac or PC to add selection, and then use Alt Option in order to take away little sections because maybe I got too much. I've done that, which is especially annoying if you've selected something. I've gone through, I've selected, 4 or 5 different little things. And then I go, oh, darn it, too much. And then, so one of the things I do is run over here. I can never remember what it is, but then I can take out this, and I can readjust my selection if I got a little too much. So it's a great thing. RX is brilliant in its ability to do some of these selection things. And once you have the right thing selected, then you can use this tool to learn, and then you can test it and then undo. I'm forever testing something, undo, testing, undo. If I've done that less than 10,000 times, I'd be shocked. I'll bet I'm many times that, because I've had periods where I've been working on audio where I've been working uh, 11, 14 hours in a single day, other than bathroom breaks and food. I've spent 14 hours on some things that I was doing when I was younger working this thing. But you can see it's brilliant. It allows you to take care of things quickly and easily. So let me check. So I take it that RX is your go-to. Oh, of course. RX is absolutely my go-to. The two tools I think everybody should have for working voiceover. A great DAW. Studio One's my favorite. There's some other great DAWs too. But you need a great recording solution. Get something great for that. Then the other thing you want is RX. Note that I predict, right now I'm talking, it's October 23rd, 2023. It does go on sale every so often, approximately every couple months. Depends. They go through these cycles. They'll have sales regularly, and then they'll have, like, they have not had a sale for a couple months now. I predict on Black Friday there will be a sale. So grab it when it's on sale, or grab it now. I paid full price for mine when I bought mine, and and then 6 weeks later it went on sale, and it was still worth it. I lost $100 plus, but I had saved so much time, and my audio was so much better. $100 wasn't, if you're down to the last dime, yeah. But there are times where it's just not worth it. And by the way, if you order from Sweetwater, use my Sweetwater contact if you're buying it straight up when it's not on sale, because my Sweetwater contact gives it to us at a sale price. Not a sale price, but he gives us a discount on it. So we'll get pretty close. We'll get in, in the zip code of the sale price. And then if it's within 30 days, he'll refund the difference there as well. So great product. Absolutely, Dave. Well, a little mouth noise that mouth to click doesn't like to remove on its own. So Justin, I very rarely would use this on mouth clicks. That for me is almost always going to be spectral repair that I go through. And by the way, I have it turned on here, and I'm going to have instant process turned on. And I heard there was. First off, you do not need to go through and get every possible click out of everything. There was a couple here. Yeah, I see that there. There's one right there. That's a mouth. There's a little click there. That one's going to be turn on spectral repair, and that's going to be right here. And now it's gone. Now it's just absolutely gone. Now that's out in the open, but I could take one here, and it works. And notice, it did not just blank it all out. Here it blanked it because it's looking at what's before and after it. It's a brilliant tool for doing that. And I could go ahead and take out, there's a couple little things here, but they're so quiet. They're almost imperceivable. The ones that are within the audio, you can do as well. It's really smart about the way it does that. But remember, we're not trying to get to where we have perfect audio with no, it's like if I'm listening with headphones, I can tell you categorically, this is the absolute worst spouse training you could ever have. Because what I hear, I've done thousands of hours of my wife's voice, and what I hear is want, want, want noise, want, 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 want noise, like the old Charlie Brown, the old thing. If you ever watch old Charlie Brown stuff, the teacher, want, want noise, want noise. I'm listening for the noise, and so guess what I hear the most? Noise. I can edit hours of her stuff. I have no clue what the story is about because I don't care. I'm not focused on that. Your listeners are the opposite focused. As long as it's as long as it's a minimum amount, and especially not in the first chapter, maybe the second chapter of a book, then nobody cares. For the simple reason that I'm talking to you live. It means I will say occasionally. If I say once every 2 to 4 minutes, nobody gives a rip. They go, oh, he's a person. He's not AI. I might look AI. I just do you. No, they don't care. It's not. So we do not need to be perfect. Now, you can also run the mouth to click a couple times. If you're having situations where mouth to click is not getting enough, talk to me. Most of the time, I do not have to go back and hand edit mouth noise. Now, what I will do is verify at the very beginning Like this has some things at the very beginning. There's no way I would let it out the door with that at the beginning. That would always be out at the beginning for me. And I would go through, and I would also run the multi-click against that because I didn't do that here. Let me go ahead and run multi-click, and let's see what it takes out. I'm going to crank that up. Yep. And I'm just going to render it. I'm not even testing it. Look at it. Just took out 90% of that without me doing anything. I could run it again. You can run it 6 times, 10 times. Nobody will know. Multi-click is so good. And then if I needed to, I'll run instant process on something and take out a little more. And if you're not sure about that, I mean, I don't want to be a broken record at all, but I guarantee you that you can get all that stuff. I mean, I cover it all, and not all. I cover it in this. Plus, you get some time with me. If you haven't checked out our Mastering Conversational Reads, if you're doing audiobooks and you need to read a script but sound conversational because your character is conversational, you can grab that class. Be sure to join the RX group if you're not there. We're almost at 9,000 members now in the RX Rescue group, and of course, VOTech Simplified is on Facebook. Join that if you haven't already. If you're watching this on YouTube, and be sure to put comments in there. That is so helpful. Ron, yeah, hey, well, one, I don't announce them. I now only announce some. Most of these things I announce just for perspective. Other than my Tuesday ones with Johnny Heller, those are announced a week in advance and more. We're pretty soon those will be up there. You'll see a couple months of them because we're now able to schedule them as we're getting those out there. I subscribe on YouTube and turn on the notifications. You'll get notified every time I do it live, and that works great. So subscribe, ask for notifications. In the groups, a lot of times I put something up 15 to 20 minutes before because sometimes I can't schedule this. I have client sessions going on all day, and I schedule it, and I just do this when I get a hole. Somebody needed to move something. Almost every day someone needs to move something. I just go, cool. And then I fill in that blank doing something like this. So I don't always know exactly what time I'll be doing it. And because it's free, I'm doing it when I can. I'm shoehorning it in. I'm a little busy, but I'm doing it anyway. So it's not always convenient for me. I do it. I want to do it almost every day. So be sure to subscribe, check out the pages. But on YouTube, yeah, you will, but you may not. All right, I'm still using 8. Is it worth the upgrade to 10? You're close. You might want to wait. If it were today, you're thinking of upgrading, and you're on 8, I probably would hang out, and someday there'll be another. First off, the day version 9 ships, they're working on version 10. The day version 10 ships, they're working on 11. I guarantee you in the background they're working on the next version. And I'm under NDAs for all this, and they don't tell us when it's going to happen. One, if I knew, I would not tell you. Sorry. I'm not jeopardizing my NDA to give you some inside information. Sorry. I want to keep that. I've been on the beta since version 4, and I stay there for the last 9 years because I can keep my mouth shut. Number 2, they're not dumb enough to tell all of us when it's going to ship because there's too many of us, and somebody would let it slip, and sometimes they let it slip. So I'm bound by an NDA. So someday there'll be RX11. It's been over a year since RX10. I predict in the next year, and I would cut that in half. There will be 11, and I would stay with that. Okay, so that's what I would do there. So but if you don't have RX Jumpstart yet or the conversational thing, be sure to do that, and I would check for last comments. So that's from Fleischman Media asking that question. I got some questions here. I leave some because it helps me be human. Multi-click is so good, it gets rid of enough of the clicks. Brandon, right on. A couple clicks don't kill anybody. A couple clicks, nobody notices unless I say, to the point where you start noticing, man, Don says too much. If I say cool too much, if I say, it doesn't matter. Whatever my nonsense word is, if I continue to say it over and over again, you will be bothered. If I just leave some space, you don't. And the only reason I don't usually say anymore is because I've had to edit way too many of my things that I recorded live and later listen to them. It's like, oh man, I say that. You want to get rid of that stuff? Yeah. Mouth noise, use the declicker. If you're doing too much hand editing, you're wasting time. And remember, time to market is important too. Getting your stuff out there. Rights holders want it quicker. Publishers want it quicker. They do want a high quality, so I'm not saying be sloppy, be way above average, but way above average does not necessarily mean perfect. There is definitely a difference between perfect and way above average. I want to be in the top 10% of everything I do for audio. That doesn't mean every piece of audio that I put out is in the top 2%. Most of the time I am. There's a lot of times where I know my stuff could be in the top 1%, but it's not everything. I make choices based on the business, and I have to admit, there are moments where it's like, I'm embarrassed about the quality of that because I had to put something out because a client said, hey, I need this tonight. I need this. And it's like, you've just given me a half hour to do a job that should have taken 2 hours. And so what do? I do the best thing I can in the time frame that I'm given, and then I move on to the next thing. But I do kind of cheat because I know what the points are that most people are going to hear, and I'll focus like a laser on the parts that are going to be heard the most. And then when people are into the story, they're a lot more forgiving if something comes up later. It's just that's the way the whole thing works. So let me check for last questions, comments. Oh yeah. So first, Danny, you mentioned about your breaths. Have you have you gone ahead and watched my video on breathing? And I've had medical issues with, I have all sorts of sibilance issues because I've had mouth surgery because I had my front teeth broke out when I was 14. So I do understand, even with medical issues, even with surgeries, that we all can get better from some practice things. So there is no way I don't like any of the tools. I'm not, breath control's okay. The one, I don't like the Waves version. It also requires you to audit everything. The number one thing that we all can do is work on our breathing. And I know I say leave it in, but there are some exercises you can do. Remind me. I'll put up a link to the video. Yes, you have watched that video. Watch it again, but practice. Some of us, like for me, sibilance has been the bane of my life because of my mouth surgeries over the years and over the decades. So as an adult, when your mouth geometry gets changed, and they've changed the way my front teeth are, then the air goes through differently, and it's really been not fun, we'll just say, in my 40s to relearn how to talk and not to sound like a 5-year-old again. And I've had that happen 3 times now in my life where I've had to relearn to talk with different geometry, and it is not fun. I will just flat out say it's not fun. But so what? A few months later, most people don't notice it. It still slips through. I still hear it. I hear it in my recordings occasionally. But you need to get it to the point where 90% is performance, and then we can turn it down in a few places, but we can be strategic about it and take it out at the beginning of chapters, take it out in the beginning of the book. In the middle of the book, it doesn't matter as much. Toward the end of the book, I don't want to say it doesn't matter at all, but it really, that's a whole nother discussion. I'll do a whole video on that again because it's such a hot topic. So many people could use some help with that breathing. So you're not alone. Yeah. And sibilance is just, yeah. Anyway, so, but if you can't take it out, you're going to, first off, you're going to have to do some manual stuff if you really want it to be great. And I use Spectral Denoise, and I use the gain control, and I have keyboard shortcuts set up for all that stuff so that I could quickly do this and take out some stuff if I need to. And I can go ahead and I have keyboard shortcuts set up so that I can highlight a breath in here and have it go down there. Now, what you can't tell is, what did I press? I pressed, Spectral Denoise. That's my shortcut for that. But I just brought it down 6 dB right there by highlighting in a keyboard shortcut. And anything more than 6 dB, I compress it twice. I have a keyboard shortcut for 15 dB, 6 dB, and 3 dB. I have 3 keyboard shortcuts that I use. I can highlight. But no, there is no good way because breaths and the breathy sound are also within words. Okay, it's one of the problems that if you get any debreather that can go ahead, and RX was smart enough to call it breath control, not debreath. Like they call it mouth declick, mouth denoise, spectral denoise. They did not call it debreather. There is a de-esser, by the way, someplace in there. Yeah, right there. They do have a de-esser, but they don't have a debreather, because that sound occurs naturally within some words. And if they get it to where it's strong enough to take it out here, It's going to take it out in some words, and people are then going to be ticked off about that. So you need to reduce it, but lean into it. You're also going to find there is an audience that won't care. That's going to be 90% of them. And you actually, listen. I tell people I had an accident when I was 14, and I'm somewhat of an expert at reducing sibilants from practicing. I've had to practice in my life way more than most people combined. But there are others with my challenge, and there are others with your challenge, and I certainly don't make light of it. It's a royal pain, but it can be done, and it's something that we can work on. And if not, then we get keyboard shortcuts, and we make our choice between. I have a keyboard shortcut for spectral repair, for gain, and between those two, I can go ahead and do it. And by the way, if you really wanted to, you can highlight a section, you can hold down the shift key and highlight a breath and a breath, and you can bring them all down by 6 dB, something like that. That works pretty well. If you have Studio One or one of the other, you can also multi-select. I could select 20 or 30 breaths in a row and bring them all down and proportionally if I needed to do that. So there's some different things you can do, but practice is the number one. And then you can do some other things, but no, it's not an easy thing technology-wise. I really wish it could be. But yeah, so there's nothing. No, front teeth out by mistake. Oh yeah, David. If you're serious, if they pull out a front tooth first by mistake, we should have a talk with that guy. That's a different thing. I know. I got all mine knocked out as a kid. If you ever want that story, yeah. Don't slide on ice when you're 14. And I did it. I don't know, 2 weeks before Christmas when I was 14, and I remember singing, "Yeah, all I want for Christmas is my two front teeth." They were gone, cut in half. It was not a good day for me or my mom. That is a day that will live on in my memory till the end. But hey, everybody's got something. All right, I have no complaints about that. All right, turn the mic away when I breathe. Yeah, maybe. But Scott, you can learn to do it without it, with just breathing. Turning away is fine. By the way, I mean, I do it all the time. It's a problem here. Watch this. First off, don't use a shotgun mic and do that. Whole nother discussion. But if I go ahead while I'm talking here, because I have three monitors. The monitor that I'm working on, that you see, the monitor to my right. When I look like this, I'm looking at my my monitor that has all my tools that show me my broadcast and show me the different a bunch of things, including my notes, so that I stay on script and tell you all the cool things and remind myself while I'm in the heat of battle here. Yeah, go over this, go over that. And then I have my third one, which is all the way over here. Listen to my mic sound. And the closer you are to a mic, the more sensitive it can be, the more shotgun it is. But listen to this as I turn my head. I'll keep talking. And I'm turning over to my third one. And now I sound very different than when I turn back slowly, and listen to the difference here on this mic. Now, if I turn away on a breath and then I come back and I end up in a slightly different spot, then I can hear that all day long. Now, most of your listeners will not pick up on it. But you really have to be careful about that. I don't recommend, first off, hey, if it works for you, but I promise you, some of the listeners will hear that. And so you can work on it. And I don't really want that to be in every single thing I do, but I also can learn to bring that down some. And if not, then I will take it out with RX. But I've had a couple people that, had asthma or they had a cold, and so their breathing was labored. There are people with medical conditions that we need to go and do some more interventions, but we all have something. I got other things. Okay, let me look at the last thing there. All right, so I don't see any questions there that I can answer. I'm going to check my other one here. All right. I was going to ask a room tone match question, but as usual, I answered it right away. All right, Melissa, cool, Mike, Melinda. Yeah, I appreciate you into it. All right, thanks, Matt, Sean, appreciate Michael, Russell. You guys are awesome. Just note, I'm working really hard to build the YouTube channel because you can go in there and search for things easier, and I'm going to be putting better thumbnails and better descriptions over time. But please go into YouTube and subscribe and put comments in there as well after this is done, because it helps it be discovered by other people and helps build that. And it gives us a repository for all the cool things you can do. And you'll be able to go back a year from now when you really need this. Some of you won't need this for 2 months or 3 months, and you can find it easier there than you can in Facebook. So please go over to the YouTube channel, subscribe to that, turn on notifications, give it a like, thumbs up, that kind of thing. Very, very helpful. So I don't see any more questions. Now, if I miss something, be sure you give me a comment wherever. I'm monitoring all the stuff. And if it's something cool, I'll go ahead and just do a live session for what you need as well. I'm always looking for good content, good things that I can do. So send me a message directly, throw comments in the Facebook groups. Remember, I'm in a ton of them. So I look forward to talking to you on the wires. And be sure to check out VO Jumpstart and the Studio One. We have the RX Jumpstart, the Mastering Conversational Reads. Be sure to join in Facebook. Be sure to join VO Tech Simplified if you haven't. And then the YouTube stuff. So just run over and help me, okay? Run over every place you can. And I hope you have a fantastic day. And let me know how I